Welcome to the Bullpen Show. I'm your host, Austin Alexander. Very fortunate to have you guys here on our first podcast here in February as baseball season gets underway. One quick note before we get going with this particular podcast. We had Pro Day scheduled for this past weekend. Unless you're living under a rock, we ended up having to cancel that. Hopefully everybody got a little bit of snow. Unfortunately, that was the first event that we've had to postpone in 20 years of doing this. It wasn't what we wanted to do. It's huge. It's typically a huge day for the participants who come and the scouts who come to watch them. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. All information about our postponement will be on thediamondprospects.com. Now, this podcast was supposed to be centered on what we saw at Pro Day. That obviously did not happen. So at the last second, I was able to get a pretty good pinch hitter to step in for us and fill in for this week's podcast. It's Walker Mitchell, infielder at Coastal Carolina. Walker, I appreciate you coming on. How was the snow, and how are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. And the snow was pretty fun. You know, it's about all melted away now, but it was something different, which is you don't always see down here.
That's right. Yeah, you down at the coast, you don't get much. Of course, you got it the last couple years. Right.
Yeah.
Baseball season started, and this year is no different. So, but obviously the snow's melting away, and everybody's been able to get back on their fields. If not, yesterday, hopefully today, games are starting to crank back up. And you guys sit less than 2 weeks out. So we want to kind of talk about obviously the 26th season. But before we do, let's kind of take a glance back at 2025. You guys finished up in Omaha, just a little short, but national runner-up is obviously nothing to sneeze at all. If you could kind of take us back to some of your greatest memories, not only of Omaha, but also the run to get to Omaha.
Yeah, you know, we accomplished a lot last year. We broke a lot of records, and everybody knows we came up short, and that wasn't the goal, but we've got a really good team going into this year, and we've got a really good shot at going back. I truly believe that, and these coaches have got us prepared to, have a repeat of what we did last year and keep creating the great culture that we have here at Coastal.
When you get out to Omaha, was that your first trip to Omaha, and what did you think about, I guess, all the pomp and circumstance that surrounds baseball's biggest stage? What was that like for you to experience?
It was pretty unreal. You know, it's every little kid's dream, obviously. When they want to go play college baseball, you want to go play for the national championship and the World Series. So it was pretty unreal. I'd been there previously my freshman year. We went there and played Creighton for like a midweek or for a series. And the atmosphere was just unbelievable during the World Series. You know, the town literally comes alive for the World Series. Like, it was a ghost town when we were there my freshman year. And then this year it was unbelievable. I mean, you're just walking down the street and it's just thousands of people there just to watch baseball. And it's a pretty unreal environment to be in.
Well, your run was certainly something that everybody back in the South, and certainly in South Carolina, was able to follow. A ton of fun to watch the shots march right through all the regionals, the super regionals, and then all the way up to the national championship series, where you run into a buzzsaw. LSU is no stranger to those big games, and I ran up against a couple of arms and certainly some other circumstances too that were outside of everyone's ability to get over. We'll leave some of that stuff for those who watch the game. We won't get into all that so much, but obviously it was a really good run. But you switch gears now. I'm sure you guys have been reminded by your coaching staff that was last year's team, that last year's romp through all your competition is going to help you win a ball game this year. So as we switch gears now, and you guys are opening up on the 13th, coming up next Friday at home, if you could kind of give us an idea of what the 26 shots look like and kind of what the message has been as you put 25 back in your rear view and look ahead to this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all know that what happened last year doesn't matter for how we perform this year, and the coaches have been very stern on like beating that into our heads and stuff. That cool, the team last year did all this and broke all these records, but we have you guys here to try and do the same thing and do better and go above and beyond. And last year, gives us really high expectations. It has a lot more buzz around us, but we deserve that buzz. This program is, built on a culture of winning, and there's no different now. And we just got to keep the standard high and keep pounding away and doing our thing. And I mean, the shots are going to be really good again this year.
They usually are, and there's no reason to expect anything less out of Myrtle Beach, out of you guys this year. Now, you mentioned records broken. Obviously, the team broke a lot of records. One, you broke one of the team records, 32 hit by pitches. All right, so now if you're getting popped that many times, tell us a little bit about the mentality that your program has. Obviously, you led the charge with the 32, but you're hanging in there against anything that you see coming from 60 feet away. Give us an idea of how that's kind of ingrained in you guys to hang in on pitches and to make that a weapon to help you score runs.
Yeah, it's just a mindset here. We're gonna beat you every way possible, and any free base that you're gonna give us, we're not gonna get out of the way. We're gonna take it with pride, and we're gonna play the game gritty and play the game hard. The coaches prepare us at an extreme high level, and that's a standard here to not get out of a way of a pitch thrown at you. I mean, that's a free base for your boys to bat you in, to get an RBI. If you're getting out of the way of that, I don't understand what's wrong with how baseball has come to, of people getting out of the way of a free base, because the name of the game is to get on base and to score.
Well, that's right. Well, last year you ended up winning the everyday job at third base. You batted in the middle of the order, whether in 3 hole, 4 hole down the stretch. But it wasn't always that easy for you when you first got to Coastal. I want to take folks back. You came out of River Bluff High School, a highly touted shortstop. You got a lot of pro interest out of high school as well. You decided you knew you were going to go to college and you knew you were going to Coastal Carolina, but it didn't happen that fast for you. I was looking back at your stats. You had 11 ABs that freshman year. When everybody's transferring, if the grass isn't as green as you want it to be where you are, you decide to stick that out. I'd like to kind of hear your version and your take on, going from a prized high school player to having to watch a little bit and only getting the 11 ABs, but realizing that, the light was at the end of the tunnel, that staying there was the right fit for you. And then, of course, the payoff from that. Give us an idea of that transformation from high school to watching to all of a sudden winning the jobs.
Yeah, well, it's not really something you expect when obviously a player like me coming out of high school, I was expecting to go into college and play right away, and a lot of people were expecting me to do that, but it's just a completely different ball game. Like, the level of competition is on a level that you can't even understand until you get there and you see it. And unfortunately, I was whittled with some injuries my freshman year as well, with a broken finger and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, it was just a culture shock. Like, I thought I was prepared, and honestly, looking back on it, I wasn't. And having these coaching staff here that is pride theirself in doing everything at the highest level possible, it's such a culture shock going from switching levels. And I mean, yeah, I had to wait my turn, and I guess you say I thugged it out, but the coaches believed in me and they knew the player that I was, and I just had to get the opportunity to go prove it. Playing summer ball at the Blowfish really helped me get my bearings back and, get that confidence back in me that I still got it. It's nothing's left. I just haven't been able to get my opportunity to go out there and prove it. But the coaches here, obviously, they had faith in me and they knew the player that I was in high school, and they knew that it just needed time to develop, and I just needed to get mentally stronger as well.
Now, you spent most of your time, the majority of your time at third base last year, but you're obviously more than adequate back at shortstop where you came up in the second, so you can play multiple positions, probably in the outfield if they need you out there. Now, as a pro prospect, and that's going to be certainly a thing that's staring you in the face this year. You got 2 more years of eligibility back at Coastal, but professional baseball may be a thing this year. As you look at that, talk through kind of how versatility becomes a key for you, and then obviously you've got a pretty good contingency plan in that you can come back to Coastal. The idea of what you're hearing as far as the draft coming up this summer.
Yeah, well, I mean, versatility is key. Like, however, I mean, there's only 9 positions I could play, and the more positions that I can learn how to play, it makes me more valuable. So the more positions, the more valuable I can be, because every team's not gonna they're gonna have some holes that need to be filled, or at least someone there to be next up in line, which is kind of how it happened last year. I mean, I never played third base until last year. I've played shortstop my whole entire life, and I picked up third base really, really well and really fast. Kudos to these coaches here at Coastal. They got me prepared at the highest level to go play at the highest level. Yeah, I feel like I could pick up any position pretty quick with their help.
Now, how much of that is a mentality thing, Walker, when, you've been one thing your whole life, one position is all that you've ever been and good at it, to all of a sudden realizing, well, I got to now learn this other position. What kind of switch has to flip for you to be able to do that and do it well?
It's just being a competitor. It's just wanting to win, just doing whatever it takes for the team to win, to help the team win. I mean, that's really all it is. You just got to have a want to and a why.
And that'll serve you well, certainly this year for the shots and then wherever you end up after your playing days are at Coastal. Or best of luck, obviously, going into this season and then and beyond. I'm sure that pro interest is still going to be waiting on you when that time comes. I kind of want to switch gears for a second and go back. I'm going to kind of date myself with this next question and topic, but you have to be about my age or a little older to remember the 1984 South Carolina Gamecocks football squad. And that was the Fire Ants team, definitely the first good South Carolina team that I can remember, and probably for most Gamecock folks, one of the better teams in the history of the program. Well, your dad was the pilot of that. He was the quarterback on that team. Alan Mitchell, for those who probably remember that name, is Walker's father. So if you could kind of give us some early experiences, some things that you remember about your dad, and maybe the legacy that he left for you and how you've been able to continue that.
Yeah, I was unfortunately lost my dad when I was 7 years old, but I still have plenty of, great memories with him that'll stick with me forever, and some of those are on a baseball field, and some of those are, killing my first deer or on a certain dove hunt or something like that, of hunting experiences and just being with my family and stuff, but, yeah, the legacy that he laid was, pretty remarkable around these parts, and a lot of people know who I am because of my dad, and it's always nice to have someone random come up to me in public and be like, "That was your dad, wasn't it?" And then just to connect the dots and figure out, you know, it's just crazy. It's just awesome to see.
He was a football player and a baseball player at South
Yes, sir.
Carolina. Take us back to young Walker Mitchell. What sports did you play growing up?
Well, I was really big on baseball. I really didn't play any other sports competitively, and a lot of that was because of my dad. Baseball was his, that's what he loved the most was baseball. And, back then with, financial stuff like that, baseball wasn't going to be able to pay the bills to go to college. It was football. So that's how he became really the football player because the scholarship and stuff back then wouldn't allow him to go to school because he came from not much of a family with not much. And that's mainly how that happened with him playing football mostly instead of baseball. But he just drove the game of baseball into me, and that's just what I fell in love with. And I never looked back, never changed. Just it's always been baseball.
Well, let's take, the young Walker Mitchell now. You're in high school. You're at River Bluff High School playing for Coach Bonnet. Give us some of your highlights from your high school career, some things that you remember. A lot of high school players are listening to this right now. Maybe some advice some things that you learned throughout your high school experience, but give us some memories as well.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Coach Bonnet and all the whole River Bluff coaching staff. They prepared me at a very high level at high school. And obviously, something that sticks out to me is my senior year winning a state championship was, a dream. And winning the first state championship of the baseball program's history there at River Bluff, being the first part of the first team to do that is pretty remarkable. And yeah, I mean, Coach Bonnet and them, they're just a very well-rounded group. They prepared us well. They do it right. They do it with very humble, and it was a great situation that I landed in high school, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, how much do you stay in touch with those guys, and are you able to get out there and see them much when you come back during the off season?
I actually saw Coach Bonnet last week. He was here for the coaching convention, and they came to two of our practices and one of our scrimmages, and I got to, sit down with him and talk with him for a little bit before one of my practices and stuff like that. So always staying in touch, back in Omaha and stuff. He was texting me every day, and we're still in touch a good bit.
Well, staying with the high school theme, you came to everything we had. Now, we didn't have the fall league at that point when you were in high school, but that's since cranked up. But you came to our pro day, you came to the Palmetto games, and not only participated in it, you were the most outstanding player of it going into your senior years. If you can, kind of give us an idea of the few DP events that you were able to come to, some of your memories from that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I always love the DP events, and it was always, just such a fun time to go out there and play with the best talent in the state, and you meet so many new people from that, and you learn so much from older guys. I remember my sophomore year Palmetto games, I was out there, and people like Tucker Toman and people that I looked up to, and later on down the road became pretty close friends with were there, and you just learn so much from everybody because everybody has their own skills that they excel in, and you can always just learn from what they're good at. You can always pick and choose. All right, so he's a really good defender. I'm gonna go talk to him with a little bit and get close with him. Okay, he's really good at, you know, hitting for power. He's really good at what else would there be? Working pitch counts and stuff like that. There's just so many little things that people overlook that you can go find in certain people that they have a little bit they excel in compared to other people. And you can just go pick people's brains. And that was one thing for me. I just loved meeting new people that I never knew and getting close with them and just becoming creating a friendship and a bond with them and learning stuff from them. That was a big thing that I got out of it.
Well, you mentioned the Palmetto games and being able to meet all these other good players. That's the thing about the Palmetto games. Everybody there's pretty good. They've
Oh
all
yeah,
been hand selected, and there's some talent on the field. And to be able
for
to
sure.
rise to the top of that and be named the most outstanding player on a field with where everybody's pretty good and pretty talented. You were
Yes, sir.
the best that one year, and so that's something that can never be taken away from you. And you look back at over the years, we've done, 17 of those, and the guys who have won the most outstanding player, in most cases, going on to have really, decorated high school careers. Excuse me, yeah, high school careers, but certainly college careers as well, and you're no different. You're putting together a really good resume at Coastal, and we'll talk a little bit more about Coastal for a moment. You know, now that you've been there, what, 2.5 years now, starting your 3rd baseball season, your junior season, your junior campaign is right here on us. For recruits that are out there, I always like to give players an opportunity to sell where they're at, whether it be the school, the baseball program, or whatnot. Tell us what it's like to be a Chanticleer, and for kids that are listening to this right now, what are some of the positives that you've been able to find through, being part of that school, but certainly part of that baseball program as well?
Definitely. I mean, this place is a dream come true, honestly. Growing up, this is one of the schools that I always wanted to go to. And a lot of people that I know in South Carolina, this is where they want to go. And it's just, the culture here is unlike anywhere else. It's a smaller school, but it doesn't seem like that way. I mean, we've got fans from all over the country that come to Conway to stay here for baseball season because they are just that diehard of a Coastal fan. And it's just the culture is just what makes this place so special, and the coaches are all at the highest level. I mean, I would put this coaching staff next to any coaching staff in America, and they will go head to head and be just as good and better. And it's just a special place. You have to really outsiders just don't understand. I've heard some of my coaches say that from a long time ago, but outsiders just don't get it. This place is special, and you have to live it to really understand it.
I completely agree with that. From the facilities to the fan base, of course, you guys picked up a lot of fans that
Oh
jumped on
yeah.
that bandwagon with your run last year in Omaha. But it is truly a wonderful place to watch a baseball game, and certainly when you go there, you're going to see some good baseball as well. Well, let's switch gears. I mean, your baseball occupies quite a bit of your time, but there has to be some downtime. Just came out of Christmas break. When you're not in the weight room, when you're not taking ground balls, getting the swings in, doing something for yourself on the baseball field, what are some hobbies? What give us an idea of what makes Walker Mitchell work, and enjoy. What are some things you enjoy when it's not baseball?
Well, if I'm not on a baseball field or in a weight room or doing something preparing for baseball season, I'm probably in the woods. That's about it. I'm duck hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever I can, fishing. I'm just in the woods in the outdoors, just relaxing, having fun with my buddies, and being in the outdoors. That's all I do really is just hunt and baseball.
That's your jam, right?
That's it.
Well, let's get into some of your favorites. All right, if you could kind of give us an idea, and I'm just going to say, give you a topic, and first thing that comes to mind. We'll just start with something pretty simple like food. What types of food do you like? And then where's your favorite go to maybe in Myrtle Beach, but also back home in Columbia?
I love breakfast food, like pancakes, French toast, stuff like that, grits, bacon, and they just opened a First Watch right here by the campus, and that place is really good. They got this $1 million bacon that is unreal.
Can't go wrong with bacon. What about back in
No.
Columbia? You got a favorite go to spot here?
Back in Columbia, not a breakfast place, but I love Home Team Barbecue in Columbia and Five Points. That place is amazing.
What about music? What do you like to listen to when you're working out, riding down the road? What's your jam there?
Just country music. I'm a big Jason Aldean fan. Jason Aldean's probably my top artist that I listen to, so I have to go right around there.
Movies, shows, do you ever turn on the television? Other than sports, what kind of stuff would you like to watch?
Yeah, I mean, I watch some TV shows with my girlfriend and stuff, like Landman is a good show, Yellowstone. I love action-based shows and movies like that, kind of the Western country theme stuff.
What sports other than baseball, do you like to shoot baskets? Do you like to play ping pong? What other sports do you like to watch, maybe even play?
I mean, obviously college football, growing up in a family that has college football players, that's always been something big in my family, so love messing around with the football, slinging the pill, and then obviously watching college football.
Sounds good, man. Well, before we wind down, I always like to give any guest that we have an opportunity to kind of throw some love out to people that have come along their journey alongside you. I'm sure your list is long, but at the same time, what are some shout outs? Who are some shout outs? Some people that maybe you want to make sure you give special recognition to today?
I mean, obviously, my family, my mom and my stepdad Bert, gotta give them shout outs, and my siblings and my girlfriend. Everybody's always there with me. They've all been with me since high school, since before the recruiting process, obviously, and you know they had some say on what they think's best for me, and ultimately it all worked out to be here at Coastal Carolina, being a Chanticleer. And then shout out to Coach Bonnet and all them and the River Bluff staff for preparing me, getting me ready to compete at this next level. I couldn't do it without them.
Very good. Well, before we wind down, and we'll come right back for just a second at the end, Walker, I want to make mention to anyone who's still listening to this podcast that we've got a ton of stuff coming up on Diamond Prospects. I mean, baseball season is here. We're in the process of finishing up all of our team rankings, our player rankings. All that's going to be getting a shot out of the cannon starting next week. Starting Thursday with our Skiza rankings 1A, and we're going to follow suit 2A, 3A, 4A, all the way up to 5A. And of course, the player rankings, all of the off-season things that we do to kind of serve as a preseason appetizer for folks before the baseball starts. We'll have our February scrimmages. We'll be in the several sites. All that's on our website as well. So just want to mention to anybody who's listening to this podcast, also stay tuned to the website, because we're going to be rolling out all kind of information that people enjoy. And Walker, we'll be getting everybody fired up with the rankings, and people that are ranked 1 don't want to be ranked 1, and people that aren't ranked 1 don't understand why they aren't. So the players, all it does is gets everybody riled up. But we're glad they're interested. We want to make sure that we've got everybody, tuned towards high school baseball. But at the same time, college baseball is here too. Division II and junior college baseball has cranked up. It's underway. And of course, D1 baseball comes starting next week. So you can catch the Chanticleers in action. They open up on the 13th, and you can see Walker in the 26th Coastal Carolina version starting next Friday.
But yeah,
Walker, we really appreciate you coming on. I'll give you the floor one last time. Is there anything else you would like to say to folks out there?
I mean, just thank you, Diamond Prospects, for all you did for me in high school. It really helped me see where I am in the talent pool, and let me know what I need to work on to get better and better and achieve that number 1 spot. I mean, y'all helped me a lot, even if you don't know you did, but kids just gotta stick to it, keep grinding, and the cream will always rise to the top, is what I was always told by the great old Dad Cromer.
Well said. And Walker, we really appreciate your time. Obviously, with all the weather, we had to make a ton of adjustments. Your schedule kept changing from lifts and BP times. And
But
I
yeah,
appreciate you working us in, and especially at the last second, be able to come on and hang out with us for this podcast. So for Walker Mitchell, I'm Austin Alexander. Just want to thank everybody out there in baseball land for listening today. Look forward to seeing you at a ballpark real soon. Thanks again for joining the Bullpen Show.